I would like to welcome all participants today in our fifth session of the MC2CM City Targeted Actions webinar series. Today, and before we start, as we say always, just a couple of guidelines. Please, if you have any question, write it in the chat box or in the Q&A box, and we will answer it by the end of the webinar. And or if you want to address the question yourself or have any contribution, please raise the virtual hand that you will see next to your name in the participants list, and we will give you the floor to unmute yourself and ask or have your contribution. Today we have Mr. Ahmed Abul Laban, Chief Resilience Officer in the city of Ramallah and City Director. Welcome, Ahmed, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being with us. Ahmed, today you will introduce for us the MC2CM Action Social Inclusion Policy, Ramallah Grows on Diversity and Equality. So Ahmed, can you give us briefly the migration context in Ramallah and what resulted in implementing this action?
Okay, at the beginning, so I can say maybe good morning or good afternoon or good evening. I don't know what's the time for each of our audience. And I'm so happy and excited to be with you today. Thank you for having me in this important session. And it will be a great pleasure for me to share Ramallah's experience in inclusion in general and social inclusion in specific for that. Let me tell you something about Ramallah, and before that I would like to start my presentation by taking you in a virtual city tour by some of our photos. And I hope someday and very soon it will be that all of you will be able to visit Ramallah in person and to enjoy it. So, why Ramallah? Why Ramallah? What distinguishes Ramallah? Why we need the inclusion strategy? Why we'd like to have Ramallah as a pilot of an inclusive city? I will mention about 5 main issues regarding Ramallah: the historical background, politically, socially, demographically, and geographically regarding Ramallah, about Ramallah. The first one, historically, Ramallah has been the center of Palestine, for Palestine. It used to be, especially in the about more than 60 or 70 years ago, at the center for Palestine as a summer vacation, as a destination for summer vacation, because it's nice weather, and it was a destination not only for Palestinians from other cities, but also from Arab countries and neighboring countries. And that, unfortunately, it was changed after 1967, after the first occupation, the second occupation from the Israeli side. What about politics? I would say about politics, Ramallah has been the center that hosted the Palestinian resistance political parties all over the time that was struggling against the Israeli occupation. And after the establishment of PNA, so the other thing that it was the center for the Palestinian political parties, the resistance parties against the Israeli occupation while we are struggling. And after the establishment of PNA, the Palestinian National Authority in 1994, it was also the center for that. And it still acts the political center for the Palestinian state, as our permanent capital, Jerusalem, remains under the Israeli occupation. The third thing about social issues. Ramallah, what distinguishes Ramallah, it's an open, liberal, and diverse city. And no one can feel like a stranger in Ramallah. You can see that all the people with different ideologies, they live together in Ramallah city. As an example, you can see religious or non-religious people, activists from left wing and right wing, liberal and conservative. All of them, you can see them in Ramallah, and it's the diversity in Ramallah. It has been the cornerstone, or maybe it's the main powerful thing in our city branding. It's our diversity. The fourth thing about demographic, Ramallah, it's a mixture city. Who live in Ramallah now, it's the people who are originally from Ramallah city. The second wave of internal immigrants, it was in 1948 when the Israeli occupation or the Israeli militia started to occupy Palestine, and lots of Palestinians, they were forced to leave their hometowns in 1948 and to move to West Bank. So some of them, they got to Ramallah as their destination. The third maybe wave it was, and some of them, all of them, most of them, they still live in Ramallah. Some of them live as residents in Ramallah city and others in refugee camps surrounding the Ramallah. The third wave, it was in 1967 when the Israeli occupation occupied the rest of Palestine. So the people from other cities also, they moved to Ramallah. And the fourth wave, it was when the establishment of PNA in 1994, and the fifth one, it was in after 2002 when the Israeli invaded all Palestinian cities. So it was a way to overcome the challenge of the closure that Israeli side put it on Palestinian cities, so the people have to move to Ramallah to be close to their work. And the fifth one about geographic, it's in the middle of West Bank. It's 15 kilometers from Jerusalem, and it connects the north of West Bank with the south of West Bank. Why we are working there? I think we at local level, we do believe that the 2030 UN agenda for sustainable development and the SDGs, it acts like an umbrella for our city planning. And with the three main dimensions, the social, the economic, and the environment protection. And we will add, from our point of view in Ramallah city, the fourth dimension, the culture, which will be the fourth dimension. So it's all of them, the four main component or dimensions of the sustainable agenda. It's our guides in our city planning. In addition to that, about the SDGs. And we believe that we need to localize the SDGs in our city planning and implementation at all levels. So in 2017, also we developed our own the Ramallah 2050 Ramallah resilience strategy, which covered everything, and the social inclusion was an important component of that strategy. When we talk about inclusion all the time, we believe that it should cover the three main components of inclusion: the social inclusion, the urban inclusion, and the economic inclusion. So, sorry. While that, and because that Ramallah has this mixture of the stakeholders, mixture of the people who live in Ramallah, we think that our inclusion strategy, it could be an important tool to get all of our stakeholders to get together. So maybe it's the main title for our project that we submitted to MC2CM migration. It was social inclusion, but we can call it also, it's an inclusive, Ramallah inclusive city strategy. And we do believe that Ramallah has the opportunity, and we are realistic, to be a pilot for an inclusive city, not only in Palestine, but maybe also in the region. And we'd like to share our experience, and we are open also to all the time to gain from others' experience. And we do believe that this kind of network which MC2 migration offer would help us to reach to that point. So what we propose to city migration, that's we want to develop an inclusion strategy, which maybe it will focus on social, but we'd like to also, as I mentioned before, that we'd like to take all the three main parts: the social inclusion, the urban inclusion, and economic inclusion. I won't read everything here because I talked about it in general, but as you can see, our main slogan, I think you saw it in our some photos, it's We Ramallah, and We Ramallah, it's just not a nice slogan or something artificial, but also it's the meaning of that we all belong to Ramallah, and there's no difference between any person in Ramallah, whether from Palestine or from a foreigner or from another city. We all believe that we feel or we belong to Ramallah. So after the network accepted our proposal, we announced about maybe 1 month ago that we need to have an international and local expert in inclusion. And we are now in the final process to select the international and local experts. We have some unique experience experts that we received, and we are so excited, and we do believe, and we have no doubt that the main production for this work will be a great inclusive city strategy that we can share it also with all our international cities. As I mentioned, that in any kind of strategy, the first and the most, maybe it's from my point of view, it will be that like the cornerstone to have stakeholder identification or analysis. So at the beginning, we will start with our international and local experts. We work together to set or to develop or to analyze or to identify the main stakeholders in the city, which will cover all the people who are affected by or affects the city at all levels. And we will promote an awareness campaign about our work. The most important thing that we'd like to have it, to have like the honor, to enhance the ownership for our stakeholders to the city. So the city or the municipality, it's belong to all the people who live in Ramallah or who acts in Ramallah in any kind of job here. At the same time, we do believe that it will be that we will offer equal opportunities for all people in Ramallah to participate in this process. Women, men, handicapped, people with special needs, elders, children, youth, all of them will be together. We will have them all the seats in our planning in this inclusion strategy. As I mentioned, it's the main objective to have that strategy, and to be another tool. It will be another tool with other strategies that we developed. Actually, we developed the cultural strategy for the Ramallah, city of Ramallah. We developed the tourism strategy. We developed the resilience strategy. We are working now to develop a green city strategy. Also, we're working to develop the smart city strategy. From our point of view, that if you are a sustainable city or a sustainable municipality, you can cover all of these. Sometimes, and I use that as like a joke, but I believe in that it's a buzzwords. Sometimes donors, they will focus more about that field or other fields. So sometimes you will talk about resilience as a fashion in this time, or a smart city, or intelligent city, or a green city, or a creative city, or caring city. If you are a sustainable city, you have to be dynamic. You can cover all of these together. So one of the main challenges from our experience, it will be how we can develop this strategy about inclusion to cover also all the other sides, because you can't be an inclusive city while you are not sustainable city. You can't be an inclusive city while you are not caring city. You can't be an inclusive city while you are not taking care of the green part of the city. You can't be an inclusive city without taking care of the main challenge about the climate change. So also you can't be an inclusive city without, while ignoring the main struggle, the main challenge that we are facing in Palestine with the Israeli occupation, because while we are planning, maybe in this 5 minutes, the Israeli soldiers will invade Ramallah and they will arrest anyone in Ramallah. So there is no borders for that. So we will have to take all the challenges in our strategy. The main target groups will be Ramallah's people who originate from Ramallah, the refugees who live in Ramallah, all the refugees who live in the refugee camps, and also the internal immigrants who came to Ramallah from other cities, and also foreigners who live in Ramallah, and also newcomers. They are the 5 main target groups. We will have different kind of activities, like to have the first launching for the project with our main stakeholders. We'll have also different kind of, we'll have maybe 1 or 2 retreats. We will host all the representatives of stakeholders sectors to be with us and to talk about inclusion at all parts. We'll have for sure task force groups. Also will have also working groups in specific for each field. Let's assume, as an example, task force or working group to talk about urban inclusion, others about economic inclusion, the third one about social inclusion. But in general, we will gather, or we will host all of the stakeholders to talk about inclusion for the city in general after that. And hopefully in the next few months, we will develop and we launch in cooperation with our strategic partner, the city-to-city migration, MC2CM migration. We will be able to launch that. And I talked about most of that, and I think, okay. So for sure that when we will invite the stakeholders, for each stakeholder who represent that sector, they will know why they are coming and what will be the main purpose for their participation. But we believe that we believe and we adopted the participatory approach in our city planning, because we do believe that we can't, as a city or municipality, to plan by ourselves or to plan with our international or local expert. It's a city strategy. That's why all the people should be participated in the process, and with that we will feel that the ownership for that production or for that baby will belong for all the people who are in Ramallah, all the people who are affected by Ramallah or our actions, or affects our action in a way or other way.
Ahmed, if I may ask, who are the stakeholders working on the migration aspect in Ramallah? And have you been in contact with them in preparation to such retreat or such action?
In general, and as what I mentioned in the first conference, when I was invited to Vienna with the MC2CM migration, we have in Palestine, we have unique situation because from what distinguishes Ramallah from the other 9 cities in the network, that the 19 now. Huh?
We have 20 cities. Yeah, 19.
In that time, in Vienna time, it was 9. Yeah, okay.
So it was the first.
But most of them are affected by the international immigrants. So immigrants, they come from other countries to live in Palestine. We don't have that challenge. We have immigrants, internal immigrants they were forced to leave their cities from the Israeli occupation and to move to Ramallah. That's the other thing. One. The other thing also, we have our own immigrants who they were immigrants in other countries in the world. Also, that was also after the first war in 1948 and after the second occupation. So our people, they were forced to leave their hometowns, even to West Bank or Ramallah city as an example, and also to other countries in the world. So as an example, the Palestinian population is about 13 million person in the world, but now it's about 6.5 in Palestine and 6.5 also in other countries in the world. So that's why I will get to the question. We don't have a specific or specialized organization in Palestine who take care of migration, but we do have different kind of organizations or unions or committees who represent different kind of people who are coming from the 1948 land or 1967 land or other foreigners, so that we will invite all of them as main stakeholders to participate in this process.
Are you working with other municipalities as well, or it is only the municipality of Ramallah managing this whole action?
Actually, the Ramallah municipality will be the leader for that. It will be the leading party for this process, but for sure, we all the time we have our two twin cities, which are connected geographically with Ramallah, which is called Al-Bira city and Betunia city, because Ramallah is in between them, and you can't distinguish while you are walking in the streets that this side or the right side might be for Ramallah, related to Ramallah city, and the other side for Al-Bira city. So we do believe that the leading party will be Ramallah city, but in cooperation with our twin cities, Al-Bira and Betunia, and also for sure our refugee camps, the committees who represent the refugee camps, which is inside Ramallah or surround Ramallah, they will be main actors, or we will reserve their seats in the city planning for the migration strategy or for the inclusion strategy.
Then I can understand that the expected impacts that you have from the action is a general ones. Can you take us more into what is the expected impact at the local level, but I would also stress on the global level and how the action is supporting you or supporting the municipality of Ramallah to address global agendas such as sustainable development goals?
I think it could be, despite the fact that it's for Ramallah city, but also it could be like a pilot for Palestinian city, and we can share it also with other Arab cities and international cities. It could be like an example that despite all the challenges that any city are facing, whatever that the challenge would be for the climate change or for political issues like the occupation and or other or limited financial resources, but we do believe that we have our own vision, we have our own dreams, and we have no doubt that we will achieve our own dreams, and we will be able to overcome any kind of challenges. So with that, what we'll see that here, even in Ramallah, sometimes you will feel like some communities in Ramallah, they feel that they are not connected to the city. They feel, as an example, for the people who came from in 1948, about 72 years ago, they don't have any problem now to be involved in all the process in Ramallah city because they are living here for the last 70 years. And also for the people who moved to Ramallah in 1967, also they don't have any problem because it's almost about 53 years they are living in Ramallah. But what we have it now after the establishment of PNA in 1994 and also after the Israeli invasion in 2002, more people from other cities, they came to live in Ramallah. So now we feel that it's a challenge. It's a challenge now how we can protect the identity of Ramallah as a liberal city, as an open city, as a diverse city. At the same time, it's an open, we can host, and it's a welcoming city. So it will be like a social challenge we will have it now. about the identity of the city. And also for the people who came after 2002, how we can get them more involved, to be more involved in Ramallah and to feel that they are the owner also of Ramallah. The other thing, it's very important thing, and I don't know if you are aware exactly about the refugee issues. You have refugees in Ramallah. The people who live in Ramallah from 1948 in the city, they don't have any problem. But there are so many people, they still, since 1948, the last 72 years, they live in refugee camps in a very bad situation, economically, socially, about everything. The United Nations responsible for their needs. And sometimes we feel that there's a social distance between the people who live in refugee camps, which is 2 minutes from Ramallah city, with the people who live in Ramallah. So the quality of life that we have it in Ramallah, so sometimes it will be like a challenge with the people who live in refugee camps. Despite the fact that the refugee camps people, they feel belong to Ramallah city, but we'd like to make that connection more stronger for that.
Before we conclude, and still we have two, I would give it another 2 minutes if there are any questions to address. As I mentioned in the chat box, please, if you have any questions, you can write them or you can unmute yourself and ask. But one last question, Ahmed, I would like to ask you regarding something very interesting you said about the newcomers and how you want to preserve the city identity. Is there any rumors or negative narratives in the city towards migrants and migration? I know it's internal migration, but is there any inequality, let's say, that they feel being part of the city?
And actually, I have my own belief that I would like all the time to be more positive, more optimistic. So that's why I do believe that any kind of challenge, could be switched to be an opportunity. So some people, they look about immigrants, even internal immigrants or external immigrants, as a challenge. But from my point of view, it's an opportunity, because the people who came to Ramallah to live in Ramallah, also they offer for Ramallah more opportunities. For sure, Ramallah city offered for them opportunities, but at the same time, that's the uniqueness of Ramallah. So the main challenge, what we would like, maybe some people from Ramallah will be shy to talk about it openly, that we are so proud of our identity in Ramallah city as a liberal city, as an open city and a diverse city. And we would like to protect that identity. And we don't feel that there is any kind of actions from immigrants to change that identity. I think lots of immigrants, they move to Ramallah because they enjoy that identity from Ramallah. But at the same time, it's a dialogue, international dialogue and debate now between conservative and liberal, between to be secular or religious. It's an international dialogue. What I love about Ramallah, and I'm so proud of Ramallah, and I feel so belong to Ramallah, and I'm so biased to Ramallah, so for sure, that it's an open city. No one feel like a stranger in Ramallah, and that we will protect that. And I hope that the inclusion strategy will help us with different actions to be implemented on the ground to protect that identity, to attract more people to be involved in the process for the city planning, for the future for their children also.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. This is very comprehensive presentation. I can see that there are no questions to be addressed in the chat box. We are very excited to know more about the action and how you will be implementing, and more about the retreat. We will share all your news and your activities on our MC2CM platforms, whether on LinkedIn or the Urban Migration Twitter account. So we will be sharing all of your activities there. Thank you very much for this.
Have a wonderful. Thank you so much and have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
time. Thank you, Fatima, and thank you for all the audience that they were banished by my presentation, maybe.
Not at all, not at all. I think I'll take the liberty of speaking on behalf of everyone else. Not at all. It was very interesting, and we will see you again, inshallah, face to face. Let's hope to know more about the action. Thank you to all participants. We will see you next week. We will have United Cities of Lebanon presenting for us their action. You will receive the invitation on Wednesday as usual, and we'll hope to see you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.